My favorite topic, DEI, and my favorite people, Tim Pool and Charlie Kirk.
Charlie Kirk got a lot of flack for this because he said, you know, I go on a plane, I see a black pilot, and I think, am I supposed to be worried?
Yeah, well, that's racist.
But the point he was making was he was calling you racist, dude, and you guys didn't get that. He said you have created a situation where average people think you are hiring people who can't do the job based on race, and we don't.
Okay. Really quick, I want to let the video play out a little bit, but when Charlie Kirk says the thing about black pilots, he has said multiple times you cannot have both diversity and excellence. All right. So what we talk about in this scenario is not about giving someone who is unqualified a position. It's, you know, we have qualified black pilots. All right. But let's say, for example, we have 5% of pilots are qualified black individuals, and black pilots make up 1% of hired pilots currently flying. We would say, okay, what in the system is causing these completely qualified black individuals, these black pilots, to not be flying planes and to not have the same jobs, pay, and opportunity as their white counterparts? DEI, especially in case of a pilot, would never say we're going to put someone who's unprepared to fly a plane in the flight deck. I know conservatives want to call it cockpit because they think about that a lot. You know how they are. You know how they are. Language policing, etc., etc. But the idea that having a black pilot means it's someone who's not qualified, and you ignore all the conversations with liberals like myself who clearly lay out for you why DEI was a thing since the 1960s, all right, the Civil Rights Act. You acting like it means, you know, if there's a black pilot, he's going to be unqualified is racist, all right? Because you are shutting off every independent thought you have, every piece of critical thinking your dumb little tiny brain can manifest. You're shutting that off to just say black pilot must be given affirmative action to be fly plane, because if he wasn't given affirmative action, the black too dumb to fly plane. That's what you're thinking in your brain.
Want to live that way.
I mean, he's the one getting on the plane and seeing a black person and saying that person's not qualified. I don't get it.
That's not what he's saying. He says Democrats are intentionally hiring underqualified people based on race.
Yeah, and lying about that over and 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 over, lying about that for years and years over and over again, lying about that after being corrected multiple times, lying about that with no evidence either. Lying about that is racist. Because you're lying to sell a racist lie.
Why are they putting us in a situation like this?
Okay, why? I'm sorry, I paused again. Tim Pool and Charlie Kirk are the reason people have the perception that DEI means giving black people a free pass. All right, they are the reason the propaganda exists because of them. Okay? They are the cause of this.
He's saying that if a black person is in the seat, it means they're unqualified. That's his assertion.
No, he's saying he doesn't know because he knows you are advocating for it.
I'm just listening to the words that he's saying. It seems pretty straightforward.
I would say that when the left and the right only listen to the.
Find me one example anywhere that's not Photoshop or a doctored image. Find me one example anywhere of a Democrat saying that a black person should be able to fly a plane, although they are not skilled enough or prepared, just because they are black, and we need diversity for diversity's sake. Find me one example of that existing, all right? And I want to be very clear with you and very gentle. I'm not going to say you're all racist. Many of you have been lied to and have not thought through it. I'm from a 99% white area, 99%, all right? An old Appalachia, cold town. So I understand believing things that are not true because you're lied to by people like this. All right, but if you hear the facts about this, and by the way, call into my show after I react to this video. I do call-ins after my video reactions. Call into my show. If you see the facts about this and realize, wow, I don't have any actual evidence. If there's no evidence for this happening, other than just people saying it and feeling like it must be true, then brother, after seeing all evidence, if you still have this position, you are the definition of racist. I don't do the whole focusing on only microaggressions or focusing only on kids singing the N-word in a little baby song when they were 15 on video at a dumb party. All right. This is the definition of what racism actually means in terms of real bias.
Surface level clips and arguments. They don't actually understand what the person is conveying. And so the argument then is Charlie Kirk is a racist, which is not true. Charlie Kirk's point on that plane was, let's just map it out 1, 2, 3. Democrats have created policies by which they will put people in positions of authority who don't have the same caliber degree or have passed certain tests because of race. We've seen policies where they will actually go down the list of top candidates until they get to a race. This creates a concern among people that that individuals are being hired without the capability based on race. That's the idea he's trying to convey. Not that he doesn't want to fly with the black pilot.
You think that when you think that in the time when we only had white pilots or white executives or white whatever, all those people were hired on merit. None of them floated through for some other reason, like
nepotism.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
there's I
bet some people gave BJs.
Yeah, exactly. The systems are like they already do that for everybody. So
but it wasn't based on race.
So for him to go in and say, when I see a black person, that's when I think that, not
because
when I see a white person.
Your policy is
then
racist.
That's racist on his part because he's only focusing on when the black people.
But it's because the policy is race based. The policy is race and gender based.
Remember, the one thing to blow up every conservative argument is show me one fact. One fact, okay? Show me one piece of proof where someone took a plane into the air without doing all the necessary requirements because they were black, okay?
And so the issue is not Charlie Kirk saying he doesn't like black people. He's saying Democrats are hiring people who are less qualified based on race. This is creating a concern for people, which we don't want to experience.
So the counter argument would be if you have a system that has no black people in it, right? You have a pool of people doing the job that has no black people in it. That clearly is not based on merit because, black people are X percent of the population, and surely some would have gotten through if it was really based on nothing but merit. So some of the existing white people must actually not have gotten there via merit. It must be because of a race-based system. So instead,
So there's good studies on hiring practices with like DEI. So the main point here, because I know conservatives don't like talking about facts much, but we have to for this conversation to make sense. The idea is, let's say we have a black person who grew up in the middle of, I'll use a really stereotypical city that conservatives know about. Okay, Chicago, middle Chicago, no opportunities, poor family, a bunch of strains on their existence. They had to fight through a lot to get out of their hometown. Which is like maybe unsafe, bad public education, no job opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe this person that battled through all these other circumstances and was able to be at a comparable, I guess you could say like, what would it be? They have a comparable resume to someone who grew up in Martha Vineyard, okay? And, someone who got $50,000 a year in SAT tutoring and they had everything handed to them. They might be, good at what they do too. But let's say you have someone from this really terrible position and you have a white person who's from a really nice position, okay? And it could be class, race, gender. There's a bunch of different things you can take into consideration, all right? It could be veteran status or someone who has a disability. It could be a lot of things. You would say, okay, this person went through a lot. Maybe we should give them a chance and give people from this background a chance to be hired for these jobs because there's other barriers in place. There's barriers that prevent merit from prevailing. So merit is prevented if we don't take into account anything about their upbringing. The research actually says, and this is from the Institute for Research on Poverty, are affirmative action hires less qualified? Evidence from employee data on new hires. So you can see like a comprehensive study if you want to look this up. There's other studies as well that show similar results. But when there were hiring practices that said, hey, we're going to make sure we have more equitable hiring practices so we don't only hire straight white men, the new hires maybe had lower credentials at the time of being hired, but the job performance was comparable. There was no statistically significant difference in the job performance of someone hired through these means, okay? So all the facts about this disagree with Tim Pool and Charlie Kirk's case.
Adjust the system so that we give everybody an equal opportunity. That is going to mean that there are going to be more black people in the system. Now,
thank you for $5, Freakadelic. And I'm sorry if people watch it. For people watching on YouTube, I'm sorry for pausing so much. I do a live stream, so if you don't like me, don't watch my channel. Go watch it from the original source on Dim Tool's channel. Please drop a like, comment, and subscribe for the algorithm. Also, consider supporting my channel in the description down below. Thank you. Freak, thank you for $5 so much. Thank you so much. Have you come across any MAGA rationalizations for why even Musk's Grok AI didn't peddle white genocide conspiracies? And if so, what have you heard? I don't know. Usually, if I talk to someone about any facts, they shut their brains down and talk about like Hunter Biden or Joe Biden or pronouns or whatever. Like they talk about pronouns all the time, and only pronouns, or like there's men and women's sports. Like they have to shut their brains off so they don't get hurt by the facts. But it is true. Every AI everywhere, every AI, and even Grok has admitted that the XAI team and Elon Musk have tried to poison its data set to give right-wing answers, and it just can't do it. And if you ask Grok or ChatGPT or Copilot or any AI, which political side has more facts on their end, it's going to be liberal, like for every single AI, dude. And Grok has said, Grok tries to make their language nicer for MAGA because if you say facts to MAGA, they're going to get offended really easily. And Grok has admit that. But as far as the white genocide thing, yeah, it's all largely a conspiracy. From what we know from the actual court cases and facts, any killings of farmers in South Africa were on the basis of like poor people trying to steal things and killing and like a robbery or burglary, whatever the term is. And there is no really example of a widespread attack on like the basis of race.
Oh, that happens. He now gets on the plane. He sees a black person. And he says, "Oh, now it seems they."
Which is one reason why the Afrikaners came here looking like refugees from Golden Corral.
They seem unqualified to me. That's pretty straightforwardly racist.
I actually think that it was racist systems that kept out qualified candidates. What I would say to your argument is the only distinction between what you said and white nationalists is that you want a system to bring those people in, and white nationalists don't. So you both the left and the right agree that there is some kind of phenomenon where black people should be qualified and aren't qualifying. I disagree with that. I think that there were institutions throughout history that hampered the process by which minorities were able to go to schools to effectively get those degrees. Mm-hmm. It's very difficult.
Yeah, well, black people were whipped to death for reading in this country like 100 years ago, maybe like a lot less than 100 years ago, whipped to death for reading in many circumstances, okay? And also, it's not just about race. Charlie Kirk is elitist based on class as well. If you're from a poor rural background and you did not go to the best school and your parents were alcoholics, because alcoholism is a huge issue with white families, especially with dads who are absent. They might be married and in the home, but they're raging alcoholics. Big white issue, rural America. Charlie Kirk also believes that you should be put under a rich kid who has a super preppy lifestyle and never had to struggle their entire life, okay? Like, I had to battle through a lot more than my classmates did in college. And I probably got into college largely because I got some benefits from being in a poor family. And if I did not have financial aid and stuff like that, I would have no chance at all to be where I am today. But I'll tell you what, in a room with any of these individuals who were so-called better students, it's very clear that the money doesn't buy everything.
The liberal argument floats dangerously close, I think, to what white nationalists are hoping for. It's not to say that you're wrong or anything, but it's a similar argument. That is the implication. So I'll put it this way: Ben and Jerry's. Do you know what the 1350 is? They call it the 1350.
Is that a Ben and Jerry's thing?
Yeah. Not intentionally, but this was like, holy shit, brother. Like, maybe you shouldn't be tweeting this. The 1350 is a meme which references despite being 13% of the population, black people commit 50% of the crimes. And so that is a meme shared among white nationalists. Mm-hmm. Ben and Jerry's put out the exact same meme, but tried approaching it from a DEI standpoint. And this lit the fucking internet up with people mocking Ben and Jerry's, being like, holy shit, they've gone full white nationalist. They said, despite making up 13% of the population, black people make up 50% of the arrests. And the white nationalists said, you're correct, 100% correct. We agree with you on everything, and started cheering for Ben and Jerry's. And I was like, whoa, guys.
Well, okay. It's not equivalent to white nationalism to bring up, for example, that black people in America have a poverty rate like 3 or 4 times higher. They live in areas that are more dangerous and have less tax funding for schools. They live in areas that historically white people and banks have redlined into ghettos. Out of the black people's control. If you don't got money, you don't got property, you don't have an opportunity to really change that, especially not in 1 or 2 generations. I mean, the 1960s were not that long ago for generational wealth. The Fortune 500, like, you'd be surprised how many of the Fortune 500 companies tie back to like multi-generational wealth. The wealth that creates many of these rich families today that wealth was obtained at a time where black people, again, were not allowed to read or write. It's whatever.
Don't take their arguments from them. Like, I think it's fair to say that there are racist, components of racism that have existed in this country for a long time. The solution would be colorblind hiring processes and educational benefits that target class and not race, because then you remove the racial component from the argument completely, instead of creating a racial argument for the white nationalists.
But if you admit
I hate pausing so much.
that people in America are
He's gonna get
racist,
it.
you can't, if you want to, you can't build systems that are completely blind to race, or you have race continue. Then you have individual racists continuing to
That'll never
exert their
change.
power over the system.
Okay, the argument here, I gotta get on Tim Pool, bro. I gotta get on Tim Pool. Black people were considered under American law by the American U.S. government to be subhuman for generations. Only portions of humans for generations were sold and whipped to death and whatever else. And laws were on the books in America that on the basis of being black, you were not allowed to own certain property. You were not allowed to vote. You were not allowed to do so many things on the basis of being black. You could not use certain water fountains. You could not use certain schools. On the basis of being black, you cannot do these things. And even when the Civil Rights Act got passed and there was forced integration in the South, many communities, if they had a public pool, for example, they would drain the pool. They would rather kill their communities. They would rather kill communities and kill the public pool, drain it, rather than actually share and live amongst black people. All right. So when the American government chooses race as their identifying characteristic to attack one group, black people, in this country for centuries. All right. And by the way, from a policy standpoint, I probably would need to focus on lower income policies in general to target these areas, because the American people will not be okay with policies focused on race, and it's really hard to do. But it makes 100% conceptual and logical sense to say if the U.S. government discriminates based on race, then the resolution should also be based on the same race the government selected, the big government selected, whatever race that government selected to be subhuman for all these generations. Okay? And reparations were never paid. They definitely should have been paid. Reparations 100% should have been done.
So what you do
So
is
you accept racism. You're just like, okay, yeah, racism will continue to affect every part of the system,
and we can mitigate it, right? So for instance, for hiring practices, when it
Thank you so much, Freak, for $2. $2 for saying dim tool like me. Others don't. You need to.
comes to the hiring managers, they should have no access to the name or the race of the individual. It should literally be, here's the resume, here's their qualifications, is it a yes or a no? And what we do then is we should target class-based opportunities for the younger generations, meaning if we go, like, so for instance, I grew up in Chicago, heavily racially segregated. We had 47th Street was a dividing line where on one side it was all black. On the other side, it was largely white, but there was some Latino there. This created a lot of problems. Two different neighborhoods looking at each other like others. And if you were white and went to the black neighborhood, you got arrested. If you were black and went to the white neighborhood, the police wouldn't go near them because they were scared of being called racist. The gangs would come from the black side and rob people on the white side, creating a lot of anger, where the white people would be like, it's black people doing it. And then I'd be like, I actually think it's a different community. It doesn't matter if it's white or otherwise. They just don't view as part of their community, so they don't care if they rob you. But if I robbed you, all the neighbors would get mad at me, right? The issue isn't the race, but this created massive racial tensions. If you went into that neighborhood and gave the black neighborhood a ton of benefits, resources, checks, or whatever based on race, brother, there'd be murders. It'd be fucking nuts, the racial tension you'd create. But if we do it based on
Yeah, so we are unable to fix anything for realsies because white people are going to get really offended and lash out. I don't know. It's like the debate on public schooling versus policing. Funding public school and other opportunities and after-school programs lower the crime rate. Like it actually lowers the crime rate, and healthcare and mental health services, it lowers crime rate. Funding the police, there's evidence that it actually raises the crime rate because it drains from other resources. But if you ask people, what are you going to fund with your tax dollars? What do you want to fund? They want to fund the police over education usually. Because it just like people want that quick fix. It feels good. It's a long-term strategy to fix it through education. So people don't always want the right answer. They want the answer that makes the most sense in the near future, I guess, or in their now. Whatever makes sense for their now.
Income and class, then you'd have equal amounts of both neighborhoods now going to the same.
Thank you for another $5, Freak. One of his tricks is saying, what if someone had X absurd position? What say you? Now you can say, let's just say it was you. Not saying it is, but yeah, I mean, I hate the constant pivot away from reality. And Tim always leads the conversation away from every logical point to make it more emotional. Like Tim loves the emotion. Look at his debate with Pisco a few days ago.
Same schools, making friends with each other. And then you're going to have one guy who's going to be like, yeah, I live on 46th. And I'm like, no way, dude, I live on 48th. Like, bro, you're south of 47th. Let's hang out, man. And now they're friends. They don't view each other as others. They don't feel like their taxes are going to one racial group. Instead, what's ended up happening is DEI programs have said it's going to be based on race. And so then you get, if you go to like Appalachia, for instance, these are the poorest of the poor, and they feel like what little they could have is being given away to other people based on race, and they're being left behind, which breeds racial animosity.
But the issue is they then vote away their own benefits, and they vote away their own resources. They vote away their own jobs. So in Appalachia, it's not really a good excuse for, their racial prejudice to cause them to make dumb decisions that, they hurt themselves in their own confusion, like in Pokemon. You know that one Pokemon thing where you hurt yourself in your own confusion? Is there like a meme about that or a picture of it? I feel like that's what, they recommended the suicide hotline. I did not mean like that. Okay, Google.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm looking up a Pokemon meme
of, poor white people against black people is like just part of the strategy of, the people in power, and they've always done it. And
liberal or
it's unfortunate to watch.
Yes, the liberals are doing that, yes.
Unfortunate to watch the country like descend into that again. Racial issues are hard to tackle because it's, we're very susceptible to it. And unfortunately, we've backslid into a period of white racial backlash again, where the people around the country they're just like, I mean, the Trump administration literally just treats any black person as unqualified and fires them from the federal government.
True.
Like that's what Pete Hegseth is doing in the Department of Defense. It's just like out and out racism. It's like a racial purge of the government. It's really bizarre. They're trying to like reset the country.
Where did that happen? Where they were firing black people?
I mean, I don't know the names off the top of my head, but yeah.
That sounds not true.
The Joint Chiefs of Staff, I think, and just in general, I think they fired all the women from leadership positions. And people will say, well, it's the military. Women can't do frontline Navy SEAL combat. It's like, bro, there's a lot of leadership in the military that has nothing to do with combat. But I don't know. Pete Hegseth, he talked about, I think Hegseth talks about DEI literally every day. Yeah.
True.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, because I'll put it this way, even if it were true, it's so overt that they're
being really overt about it. I mean, Donald Trump is going on television and going, planes are crashing because of DEI. So but
DEI really, is a philosophy, is an ideology.
He's saying because there are unqualified air traffic controllers because they were hired because they're people of color. It's racist. He's racist. He's a racist man, and he's issuing racist policy, and the entire country is going along with it because we're in a period of white racial backlash.
When do you think he became racist?
Oh, God, dude. Get me on Tim Pool. He's a racist man, and he's doing racist policies, and we're having a really big white racial backlash. I could not think of a worse way to phrase this in this media environment, bro. I could not think of a worse way to frame this. Oh.
Racist.
I think he's been racist his whole fucking life.
How did he win all those awards then? Or those accolades and
I don't know what accolades he won. He's won accolades?
Yeah, it was like a civil rights leader awards and shit.
Who did? Who won accolades?
Became racist.
I think he's been racist his whole fucking life.
How did he win all those awards then? Those accolades and
What awards?
I don't know what accolades he won. He's won accolades?
Yeah, it was like a civil rights leader awards and shit.
Donald Trump has won civil rights leader awards?
Let me see if I can find something. I'm pretty sure.
Well, that's I mean, awards are dumb, so I don't.
They are dumb.
I think he won them because awards are stupid. I don't know. Bad job awards committee for giving the.
He did get
Trump was awarded the Ellis Island Medal of Honor in 1986. This recognition was for his German heritage. I'm sorry. his German heritage. So Tim Pool might bring this up, but it's been debunked. It was nothing about Donald Trump doing things good for civil rights. He received the award alongside Rosa Parks and Muhammad Ali. So there's a picture of them together, but Trump's award was for his German heritage.
Get the Ellis Island Medal of Honor, but there's a correction. It wasn't particularly over racial issues. I don't know.
Okay, good. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea
You
what that
love
means
Trump
either.
so much, it's funny you're pulling up his awards.
I don't know why you think I
He's won so many racial awards.
I think it's weird that you think I love Trump.
I mean, you're here talking about how great his approval numbers are. Like
That's a fact. That's a fact statement.
Your YouTube headlines are all like Trump is crushing. His numbers are up. And the rest of the press is like his numbers are down. And
I never said his numbers were up. I literally just told you right now because of the tariffs, his numbers have gone down.
Dude, look.
I went on Piers Morgan and said Trump's approval is absolutely down. And I said, you don't got to look at corporate press. Take a look at Rasmussen. They love Trump and they have Trump down 4 points.
Let me ask you something.
I don't think you watch my.
I'm sorry for pausing yet again, but I really think celebrities who are famous. Where is this guy from? Where is Adam from? If he's from Los Angeles, California, or New York City, I'm gonna lose it. Adam Conover, where is he from? Okay, he's from New York. He's from New York. He grew up on the North Shore of Long Island. These individuals do not know how to contextualize or add a narrative or a message in a way that can connect to anyone. It's so bad. It's such bad representation. I really do. All the TikTok kids too. And I know I'm advocating for myself. I know I'm doing it for myself too because I'm not from these areas. I'm from this like dirty rural background, and I have all these drug addiction stories and suicide around me and cancer and blah 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 and job losses and blah blah blah. But it really just shows in their messaging. They just talk about it from like a Hollywood perspective, dude. Oh,
my show.
I don't watch it that much. But I've looked at like your YouTube headlines.
We've never said Trump's polls have recently been rebounding, but that's a fact.
Hey, I don't hate you Californians. I love all people. Except I do not like Ohio. Ohio is a bad place. Ohio is a scary place. If I drive to Ohio, I instantly get like existential depression. I start vomiting. It's really terrible in Ohio.
Statement from Newsweek aggregating like 3 or 4 different polls.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
Why does it matter where people are born? Because if you're born in a super expensive suburb in Long Beach, you've never experienced real life, and your messaging cannot connect to real people in any way because you're gonna have just like a background that doesn't match up. Like it's hard to fake a background or an angle. It's hard to fake anger and passion. Like the fact that he used the word racist in 10 seconds to attack Trump is it's just bad for the left in general. Like just go do something else. Money doesn't prevent empathy. To say coming from wealth means you're not experiencing real life. It's very true. You're not experiencing real life. You can be empathetic and learn, but when it comes to your messaging and the way you approach conversations and who you want to message to, if you only hang around individuals from a similar background and you think the words you say are influencing them, you never had a chance. I had to grow up in a area where if you walk in a bar and NBA came on, they would say, "Hey, look, the monkeys are bouncing are throwing the ball in the circle again." Or if rap comes on, they'll say, "Hey, look, the Ubangi tribal music is back on." Or like if if a black person comes, like, "Hey, let me shake your hand so I can see if your palm is really tan." Like I've had to talk to these people my entire life. All right. And I've talked to people who believed racist lies, like, oh, black people jump higher because they have extra muscles in their legs that they got from mutations during slavery. That's one thing they told us when I was growing up. So like, I understand what these young people are hearing that believe these dumbass ideologies, and I can counteract that. So when we talk about racism, there's certain points you really want to hit that makes them question themselves intuitively. Okay. Calling something racist over and over and over and over and over and over and over again is much less effective than purely hyper-focusing on the demonstration of what that bias truly means. And it's harder work to fully expound all that information and to package it in a narrative with proper context. But that's what we need right now. We need people who are going to do that very precise work to find their scalpel, all right, their narrative scalpel, to compile the best way to talk about these things, to make sure that a bunch of kids are not becoming Hitler Youth right now, believing these extremely racist lies. So it's a big thing that you've been through, that I've been through this training. Okay, I believed many of these things until I was 14 or 15. Like it's not easy to conceptualize if you're from a suburb somewhere or from Long Island or whatever else, whatever other town you're from. And I know progressives from these areas, and they would agree. They would definitely agree with that. But the issue is these consultants that do the messaging and polling for these organizations, they are very, very proud of their work. All right. And if I suggest anything to them, I might be called racist, to be honest. If I say we should understand these white men in these areas that are being radicalized, I'll be called racist. I've been called racist, or I've been called sexist, because I say just, we should be studying how white people associate with racism. And my framing of it was, we study in university and college tons about black people, all right? Everything's about black people. And that is very good. But I don't want to put all the weight of solving racism on black people. I don't want to put all the weight of racism on just black people's interaction with it, all right? We should be dissecting the white side in these periods of history just as much, if not even more right now. And I could not find a class in university that would focus on that, because many of the classes just assumed that everyone knew these things are bad. Like, okay, Jim Crow, Reconstruction, like the racial prejudice that we have today. The classes are already they're formed in a way that has that presumption. So there's no interaction with how we confront radicalization of these groups. And in fact, the way that these different campuses and the way that consultants and the way that liberals interact with the topic of racism, look at the TikTok boys, Dean, Parker, all these individuals like canceling people over accidental microaggressions. Like, microaggressions are definitely a real thing, but like, that is like, bro, their conduct surrounding race topics is like a buffet for white nationalists and white supremacists, okay? White supremacists are licking their lips like, hey, buddy, I heard the Democrats called you a racist Nazi for liking Kanye West. Well, on our side, you can say the fun words, buddy. Oh, you're not evil because you're white. Don't listen to them. They think you're evil because you're white. They want to take everything from you. Come to our side. Like the way we position this is just helping Steve Bannon recruit more little Nazis, and I don't want that. Every single one of us is media. For us to overcome what's happening right now, we all need to push in the right direction. Whether you make your own content, if you share my content or another creator you like, thank you so much for supporting this. We all need to do our job, and I really appreciate what you have to give, whether it's financial or not. If you cannot afford to donate, do not donate. Share the video around, drop a like, comment, subscribe. You are helping more than you could ever imagine.